Hello, welcome to this webinar on Microsoft Excel and business data analysis. So I'll be sharing with you new tools in Microsoft Excel and how to boost your productivity. Once you get into this webinar, if you're currently hearing me, I'll appreciate if you can also indicate in the Q&A in the chat box. Okay. Just to check if wanting to get a question. All right. So okay, so today will be I'll be walking you through about 7 different things in Microsoft Excel today. Hopefully some of them will be new. As you're already probably aware, I'm a full-time business data analysis consultant. You can always go through these. Hopefully I'll fill up this PowerPoint with a lot more content of what we're going through in this webinar, and I'll share with you so you can be able to read through all what I have. So I can move on to the next one. As you probably are aware, global business is now being powered by data, and there's a lot of advantage to being very good with working with data. You know, your proficiency in analyzing data is going to give you a great edge, whether you run your own business or you work for another business. As long as you're hoping to get to that management level someday, where you'll be making decisions that will impact the entirety of the company, you get a lot of advantage in being able to mine insight out of the data. Data is now the competitive edge businesses are now betting on. So who basically would be the most to benefit from being data analysis proficient? Business managers, finance analysts, business analysts, project managers, sales executives, and so that is it for the intro. So we start with advanced filtering. So I have here the practice Excel file. Also, I'll share that with us. I think I've closed it, so let me open it. I'll share that with us too at the end of this webinar. Okay. So first, we'll be starting with advanced filtering. So in Excel, how can you extract out information that you need? You know, let me turn down the volume of the music. Okay, so things will be a little quieter. So what I have in here is a sales report of a particular pizza restaurant, right? So we're going to perform about 4 different tasks. So I'll be walking you through the innards of advanced filtering, how you can make a lot from a report like this without having to click too many different places. And so in going through this task, you will learn how you can boost your productivity with extracting data from a report that you probably currently already work on a weekly or daily or monthly basis. Okay, so let's start with task number 1. So let's say you manage just 3 different pizza types: pizza, extravaganza, barbecue, chicken, and you need to extract out those pizza types from these records. So we have here about 5,000 records, right? So ordinarily, if you don't know advanced filtering, what you will have done will be to insert a filter, and then you come in here, you tick those 3 pizza types. You know, let's do them: pizza, extravaganza, barbecue chicken, and then you copy out the this filtered result and paste somewhere else where you want. That's a very long process. With advanced filtering, we can do all of those steps in one, in one giant step. Let me put it that way. Okay, so let's see how that works. So this is where I want the result to be put, right? So this is what I'll do from here where I want the result to come out in. I go to data menu, I go to advanced, and I want to copy to another location. So I'm ticking on copy to another location. Then what is my list of records? So my list of record is in here. I'm going to select the entire record. Okay. And then criteria range. So what am I interested in extracting out? I'm interested in extracting out pizza types, these pizza types. So you notice that I started the first field with the pizza sold name. So basically for advanced filter to know where to go compare and expect to bring out these records, you need to start with the field column, field name that matches with the field name of where those your records are. So that's why I'm starting with pizza sold, right? Okay, so and then the last part is where I want the records to be, the filtered records to be extracted to. I want them to be pasted in here. And that is all. So I click on OK, and instantly you see it's gonna pull out only Mizza Extravaganza barbecue chicken records. How you will know is in here I have just 900 records, right? As compared with 5,000 records that I have in here. So that is how you you extract records of specific types that you're interested in. Also, it's not compulsory that you have the filter enabled. I was just using that to explain to you the long process you will have done if you don't know advanced filtering. So let's even turn this one off so you don't get confused and think you need to enable filtering before you can extract out information. So let's move on to task number 2. Task number 2 is how to extract sales that are above 15,000. This is just one rule. You could use several different, different other types of rule, but just to explain to you that you can create a condition that's like this. I want to extract out fields that are equal to a particular value. You can put in an expression in here. I want to extract fields that are equal to this times this or greater than this times that. In this case, I want to extract out fields that are greater than 15,000 naira per transaction. Okay, so and in this case, it's even amount sold. So let me copy it. It's not price. I'm going to paste that in here. So the field name is amount sold. So that is where I want the comparison to come from. And so again, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to wipe out what I have in here because we are done with that one. Okay. And I'm going to initiate the advanced filtering from here because this is where I want the records to be result to be pasted in. So I go to data menu, advanced, copy to another location. Again, the table of my entire record, I'm selecting that which is in here. And the criteria range. The criteria range is also in here. I'm going to navigate up to pick it. So amount sold, that are greater than 15,000 naira. And where I want the records to be pasted, I want them to be pasted in here. And that is it. So I click on OK, and voila, that's what you get. You see, records you'll see here will basically be records that are fulfilling that my condition. They are above 15,000 naira. So as you'll notice, I have just about 875 records in here. So that is that. And because I'm done with that, I'm going to wipe off all of this because I'm going to still need this particular uh, sheet empty. Okay, so let's talk about the fourth one. Let's do the third one. So how do you extract specific columns? Say I'm only interested in extracting, say, pizza sold, price, quantity, amount sold. So maybe I'm not interested in extracting time range. You can have it in any combination you want. So the thing to do is where you want the result pasted, right? Copy out the fields you're interested in. So I'm going to copy out these fields that I'm interested in. I'm going to paste them here. Okay. And let's do any one of those advanced filtering we did before. So I'm going to do, maybe we should do the first one, where we picked particular pizza types. So advanced filtering, copy to another location, and I select the entire table that has all of the records. So that is my list range. Criteria range, I go to, let's pick the criteria. Number one, we used, so this one. So I'm picking on these, pick out for me pizza types that are these particular ones. And then where I want the result to be. Okay, so I want the result to be, pasted here. Okay, so I select the, note again, I'm selecting the fields that I've copied in here. So if you select just one field, you're going to get just that field. So I'm selecting all of these fields. So I'm going to get all of these fields, records for them, but meeting this criteria. So I click on OK, and you see it's extracted out for me pizza sold by those different that are particular to just this pizza, extravaganza, and barbecue chicken. Okay, so again, I'm going to clear this because I'm going to need this sheet for the next one. So let's talk about the number 4, how to extract records that occurred between some set time range. So this is uh, what I mean. Let's say I'm interested in extracting records, sales that happened between, say, 8 a.m. and 8:15, right? And let's even make it harder, right? So let's say also I'm interested in, records that happened also, between 9 a.m. and 9:15. But for a start, let's start with just these two. Then I'll show you why I needed to do these ones on a separate line. So let's start with the simple case of I just need records that are for transactions between 8 a.m. and 8:15. Okay, so again, I go to where I want the results, the extracted data to be put in. I go to data, advanced, copy to another location, the entire table record, the criteria range is, so let's start with, you will notice that I'm repeating the time field and it's deliberate. So it's more like I'm doing an hand logic, pick for me records that are greater than, that happen at time that are greater than 8 a.m. and less than 8:15. So that's why I'm picking the same field but repeating that field. So you can repeat the field as many times as you want. So let's do this for a start, right? So where do I want the records to be, the output to be put for me? I want the output in here. So I do OK, and you'll notice that if I scroll down, I shouldn't have records that are, beyond 8:15. So I'm going to scroll down. If I use the keyboard shortcut, Control down, you'll notice, voila, I don't have any record beyond 8:15 a.m., right? Okay, so let's see. I'm going to clear this again because I'm going to need it for the next one. Okay, so what about I need to extract out records that are between 8 a.m. to 8:15, and records that are also, 9 a.m. to 9:15. In this case, I'll be needing two more fields, right? To extract out records that meet the condition of between 9 a.m. and 9:15. But you will notice that I'm placing these not on the same row as this. The reason is if I place them on the same row as this one, so making, them being here, I'm essentially saying records that are between 8 a.m. and 8:15, and also between 9 a.m. and 8. I'm going to be checking out all of these conditions. So it will be records that meet all of these 4 conditions at once, which is not possible. You can't have a transaction that happened between 8 a.m. and 8:15, and that same transaction will still also be happening between 9 a.m. and 9:15. So that's why I'm not putting them on the same line, because putting them on the same line is doing an hand condition. So it must be this and that. But what I want is an or condition. So it's either it is between this range or this range. Okay, so again, I'm going to initiate the advanced filtering from where I want the report to be. So I'm doing advanced, copy to another location, and the entire record table. So this is the entire record table. I'm selecting it. The criteria range, it's also in here, and I'm selecting all of these. So you'll notice I'm selecting not just only this, but also this, right? So that's how I'm telling Excel that these are the conditions I want to evaluate against. And again, where I want the records to be, results to be pasted, I want the results to be output in here. So I click on OK, and you will see that that's what I'll get. So let's scroll down to check it out. So you notice the moment it got to like 8:15 a.m., it jumped to 9 a.m., right? And if I scroll down, I shouldn't see anything beyond 9 a.m. Voila. So that is how you can do a lot more with advanced filter. I don't know what I've done now. If I was to do them manually, I'll be having to use all kinds of formulas and multiple steps. So advanced filtering allows you to extract out what you want, whether you have specific records you're interested in, you have an expression you want to evaluate against, like something greater than this amount of figures or less than these figures, or between a range. And even if you want to extract just specific columns from your entire record base. And the fourth one I just showed us now is when you have a condition as complex as this, you evaluating against more than one set of conditions at once. So if you want them to be evaluated together, like a hand, the conditions should be met. You put them on the same line. Then conditions you want that to be like either this or this, then you put them on separate lines. And that is it for advanced filtering. Let me check if you have any questions so far on what I've done. I'm looking for the chat box. Okay. Okay. So questions. Okay. So no questions yet, right? But if you have any question, okay. Okay, I'm typing it. If you have any question, you can reach me via the chat box. Hopefully, you should be able to see that. So I'll move on to the next item on the agenda. So we've done advanced filtering. Next is custom lists. So how do custom lists work? I have also an example here. So custom list. What I mean by custom list is, or let's start with what lists mean. A lot of us are familiar with the fact that you can do 1, 2, and if I want to do this up to 10, I select the two ones I've done, the 1 and the 2, and I'm dragging down, and I'm getting like an autofill, right? Okay, and I can do that also for months of the year. So I'm doing Jan, Feb, I'm dragging down, and it keeps it keeps um it keeps doing for me the other months. And you can do that also for a lot of things, right? How about you have your own custom list? So that's what we mean by a custom list. An example is this, states in Nigeria. So I want to be able to do Abia, Adamawa, and then I'm selecting them and dragging down, and I want to be able to get the other 34 states in Nigeria, right? Currently it's not doing because I don't have that custom list already. So let's see how we can do it. So to do that, I need first of all to have the list somewhere. So I've copied the list from somewhere, I've typed it into Excel, but this is something you do once you do it, it's in Excel for the life of your Excel version, right? So I've done that. So I've extracted what I want to put in a custom listing here. For you, if you work in a company where maybe you have ways of coding your products or giving different aspects of your business and some code names, and you want the benefit is you can do a sorting by that, so it sorts in just in the order of your custom list. So let's see how you put this in a list as a custom list. You go to File, you go to Options, you go to Advanced, and you scroll way down, you'll see edit custom list. I click on edit custom list. I'm going to create a new list. So as you can see, I can import from Excel. I can import an already existing data that I have put in Excel, right? So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to select all of these records, 36 plus FCT, making 37 states in Nigeria. And I'll say import. And I'm almost done. Just one more step. I say add to make it permanent. And that's all. So let's test it out, right? So let's say I go somewhere else, somewhere completely different. I could even do it in a new file. So I do Abia Adamawa. And let's see what happens when I drag down. Can you see the magic? It's doing the other states for me. So this is a custom list. And it's not just only for states. You can do it for whatsoever, based on your business domain, what makes a lot of sense. What is it that you keep typing over and over, and you will like an autocomplete and autofill feature for it. And that is custom list. It's quite straightforward. If you have any question, you can also ask before I move on to the next item. So let me check if you have any question. Let's see if there is any question. Okay, so no question. But I hope you can all hear me clearly. If you're having any issues with hearing me, also you can reach me via the chat box. So let me leave you a message for any feedback or to call my attention. So anything, reach me via this chat box. Okay. All right. So I'm going to move on to the next on the agenda. So we're done with custom list. Next is data validation, specifically lists. Okay, so data validation list. So what I have in here is an invoice template. So let's say you use Excel for generating your invoice for maybe you have a small business, you have someone manage it, the person is not technically savvy, and so you are automating a lot of things, right? So you've come up with this invoice template. So one thing that you want to put into this template is you have sales officers. And so whenever you generate an invoice, you want them to indicate, who is the sales officer who prepared this invoice. So that is one case. And you have just these 4 sales officers. Another is maybe these are the only products you sell, right? So you want them to be able to, in this product field, let me unmerge those fields. So in this product fields, right? Perfect. In this product fields, you want them to select specific products, right? So you don't want them typing something you don't sell. So you want to automate the selection of a product. Well, not really automate, but pre-populate, give them a list of options to pick from. So that is what data validation list is specifically good for. So let's see how you do that, right? So let's start first with sales officers. So I'll show you way number 1. There are 2 ways. So I'll use one way for this, and I'll use another way for this. So let's start with way number 1. I go to data. Both ways involve you going to data menu, data validation, and then coming in here, choosing a list. This is where the difference now begins to apply. So way number 1, I can type in the options, one after the other, separated by a comma. So I'm going to type, that's what I'll do here. So I'm typing Kende, comma, Shion, comma, Tunde, comma, Lola, and that is it. So I'm doing OK. And immediately you'll see this drop-down menu come up. And now I can select. So whenever they are preparing this invoice, they can come in here and select who is the account officer preparing the invoice. So that is way number 1. So let's see way number 2. Way number 2, let's do for all of this at once. So way number 2 also involves going to data validation. I come in here, list. But here, instead of me typing out those different records, I'm going to select the records from the Excel sheet itself, right? So I'm selecting all of our products in here. So I'm selecting this, right? And I'm doing okay. So that's just it. So now I'm having, similar results, right in here, whatever product you select comes up, right? So what's the difference between these two methods? The difference is method number one is really neat. With method number one, I don't need this, right? So it's independent of any other sheets, any other place in my Excel file or sheet, right? But with method number two, I'm dependent on this. The moment this is not there, you'll see what will happen. My options become empty, right? So that's the main difference. So I'm going to undo all of that. So that's the difference. And then let's see the peculiar, practically, how will those difference apply to you? So way number one that I can do without these helper columns or helper cells is that my report is neater, right? So I'm not scared of someone doing something to these and it's affecting my template. So that is that about that one. So it's really neat. Then this one. So what is peculiar to this is if I needed to make changes, I only need to change something here. So maybe let's say we Dangote cement, elephant cement is no longer called elephant cement. So maybe it's called WAPCO. So we're changing the name from elephant cement to WAPCO, right? All I need to do is just make the change here, right? And all these other places are going to pick those changes. All of the places where I've applied that, those changes will be picked. But for this one, if I need to do something like that, I'll have to change in all of them at once. If I'm lucky, maybe they are all together. If I'm not so lucky, if they are separately, maybe I have some here, I have some here, then I have to change them individually. So those are just the practical difference, in terms of implementation. So it left for you which one you feel, will suit your situation better. So again, I'm going to check if you have any question before I move on to the next one. Okay, so no question. That means you're all getting me clear, light on clear, no issue. You can hear my voice, you can see the screen. I hope so. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next one, right? So the next one. We're done with data validation list. Next one is dynamic charts. This is going to be very interesting. It's almost a magic, right? So let me go back to presentation mode. Okay, so let's go back to the Excel. Okay, so how about you want a situation where as you begin to update these records, you're creating for new months. As you're creating for new months, let's just give that a second. Okay, great. You'll notice that this chart down here automatically updated. I'm having all those new months show up on the chart without me doing anything. Whereas this regular chart, it's still showing just the ones I created. So this is called a dynamic chart. This is a regular chart we do. It only just reflects changes you make on already existing data. It does not automatically adjust, expand when you create data, extra fields below your original selection, right? So let me do that again so you get what I'm saying. These are two charts. We have data for January to April, right? So I'm saying we created for 3 new months. See what I mean? The one below that is dynamic has automatically captured those new months, whereas the one up that is a regular chart didn't. So how did I create this dynamic chart? The trick is you use named range and offset. Named range and offsets. So let me do from scratch. Let me do another one from scratch. Okay. So I'm going to let's undo all the new ones. So I've done. Okay. So this is the base data. So first of all, what I did was to create a dynamic name range. A dynamic name range for months to capture all of the months that are being created. Another for revenue, another for expense, another for for profit. So what do I mean by dynamic named range? So let's see an example of what is a dynamic range. And a dynamic range is something like this. So let's do one from scratch. If I want to create a dynamic range for this, right, that will keep monitoring how many records I have in this particular range. If the records increase, it will also automatically increase along with the records. So I'm going to use a formula called offsets. And to be able to show you what I mean, I'm going to wrap it inside sum so you can see how it's going to sum up figures in the dynamic range. So the way offset works is this. Where is my reference? You could pick your reference from anywhere. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to say maybe this is my reference, revenue field. Let's do this for revenue for a start. So this is the reference point. I need the dynamic range to pick out all the figures below that reference point. So as you can see, reference point B1. So how many rows do I want to pick? How many rows down do I want to go? This is more like, where do I want to start from? I want to start from a row below that reference point. So I want to start from this one. So I'm going one row down, then comma. How many columns, right do I want to go? I'm not going any column to the right. I'm still going to stick to this particular B column. So I'm going to put a 0 there. I'm not going in any column direction. So next is height. So this is where the magic has to happen. I need a height to dynamically adjust with the number of records I have in here. So we'll be using a formula called count. So I'll be counting how many numeric records I have in this. For in this case, let's say this entire particular column B. So it's going to count how many numeric records. So for now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will make the height of my range to be from here to here, four records, right? And that's how it works. So let's do that. By the time I add more records, it will note that and automatically adjust the height. What about width? Do I want to expand it to, how many width, how wide? In this case, I'm okay with just one row wide. So I'm going to put 1 there. And then I close the bracket and I close it till I get a black bracket. Okay, so you'll notice if I come in here, I put in one more field. So let's say I drag here, I have another field. You notice it's changing. And how do you know if this is correct? If I select the entire of these, 3.3 million. See, 3.3 million. Okay, so that's what I really need in this place is the offsets. And I've explained how it works, right? Okay, so all right, so let's see how we're going to use that to create a dynamic range. I come to formulas, I create a named range, name manager. I've already created all of these named range, so I'll create another version. Okay, so I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call this, maybe I'll use 3-letter words instead of the full name I used before. So rev, I need it to be offset. Again, this is my reference point, right? I'm going to go one row down. How many column to the side? No, I'm sticking to that column. And then how many records do I want? So I'm going to put in that count, in bracket, count how many numeric figures we have in a count, only count numeric figures. So that's why it's going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not going to count revenue. Revenue is not a numeric figure. When we're doing for month, I'll use another one called counter, like count all. That one counts everything, including text. Okay, so I'm going to count the numeric figures. And again, how many, what's the width? What should be the width? I'm okay with just one column wide, right? So I'm going to put 1 there. And that is it. So that is the formula. So I'm going to do that for expense and profit. So instead of having to type this, over and over again, I'm going to copy what I've done here. I'm going to copy everything I have in here. Copy, new. I'll call this expense, but again, 3-letter words. Paste that, and expense is in C field. So I'm just going to change, B to C, and I'm going to also change also in here B to C, and I'm done with that. Next one is profit, right? So profit, again, I use three-letter words. Profit is on D column. D, D, again, I change it here from B to D. Okay, I'm left with months, right? I'm going to need month also too. So new, I'm going to call it MON. So, but for month, okay, let's first change the month is on the A column. So I change A to B, A to B, and A to B. But if you notice, months are not numeric figures; they are text. So my count is not going to work. I'm going to have to use count all. So count all or counter. And the count all is going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need it to just do, everything after month. So I'm going to have to subtract 1 from whatsoever it has done. So that way I'm leaving out the first one, the month record. So I'm going to just put a -1 there. And that is it. So, okay. So that's all what we need. And, that's just what we need done. Okay, so let's do the chart. So to do the chart is just the regular charts you will have done. You go to insert, whatever chart type you like. So you could even do this for any chart type, bar, line, but let's do for line. So we have similar to what we have in here. Okay, so once you've done that, you now need to make them pick from the dynamic range you've created. So I'm going to go to select data to be able to access the chart engine. I call it the engine room, the dialog box, the control panel. So I'm going to begin to change this one after the other. So revenue should pick from my named range. Just give it about 10 seconds. It's going to come up. I have so many things open. Coming up. Wow. Doesn't take this long. Mhm. The thing with Excel is if it's doing this, you just have to be patient. If you do anything, you get, things just go worse. Great. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to call out instead of having it to permanently linked to those. I'm going to say you should pick for, we're doing for revenue. So we named it rev, right? So I'm cleaning out the range field and putting my name field there, rev. Okay, so that is it. Okay, I'll do the same for expense. So for expense, I wipe out whatever name it's there. I put exp. I do okay. For profits, I do the same thing. I wipe off whatever is there. I put pro. So next is this. For this also to the axis label, I'm going to put month, MON. I do okay. And that is it. I do okay. So now this is now dynamic. Let me give it a name and say it's dynamic. And let's check. Let's test it out. So I'm going to drag these fields down. And you see, automatically it just keeps expanding and expanding. And you can give it all those other formats you would like to give it, doesn't mind. Which one should I use? Let's use black. And this applies even though if I change this to a bar chart. So let's change it to a bar chart. No, a column chart. So let's see. I've changed it to a column chart. Let's make it really, really wide so you can see the effects. So it's taking up a lot of space. So let's see. So maybe it's year end. We've done all the way down to the end of the year. And voila, you see January down to December. And if I think it's all a lie, we've not done up to the year end, we've only done, say, maybe first 5 months of the year. I click all, see the effect. So this is why I say it's close to magic. All right, so this is dynamic charts, and it helps make life easy. It makes your chart, especially when you're creating a template. I do this a lot for when I'm making a template for companies, and you don't want them to do too much. It's part of the what sweetens the deal. Doing something that it looks not too ordinary anymore. Ordinary charts, ordinary records, but all these little things give it those extraordinary feel, and they just make it look like this guy's done a magic. Okay, so let's move on. Again, let me check if you have any question. I'm going to check if I have any question. Okay, so no question. I think I have gurus in house. Okay, so let's move on to the next on the agenda. So we're done with dynamic charts. Next is conditional formatting. Okay, conditional formatting. I have a task for. So let's say I want to highlight an entire row. An entire row. A row is for a whole state. This is internally generated revenue of all the states in Nigeria, right? So maybe we're analyzing for June, this last month. And so we have this condition that, states that made, there's a target, states that made 2 billion naira, greater than 2 billion naira, that, they'll be rewarded, or I don't know, maybe they'll get some state bonus, or they'll get some FG bond financing, whatsoever it is they will get. So we need to identify states that meet this criteria and this criterion. But we don't just want them to be highlighted, like the figures. We want the entire row record to be highlighted. So let me explain what I mean. I'm going to wipe off the one I've done. So I'm going to come to conditional formatting, clear rules from selected cell. So now we're back to plain report, right? So this is what I mean. I want to select based on this column, June revenue. People who did, say, greater than 2 billion. So 2 and 9 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's give them a green color because they did well. So not black, green. Okay. So this worked. But what I really want is I want the entire row to be selected, not just this row to be selected, right? So how can I make that happen? So let's undo. If you try to do what most people usually will do, they select all of the, maybe you select the whole record, select the whole row. Let's see, select the whole row, the entire record. And then you do that same thing, highlight cell rules based on greater than, greater than 2 million. So I'm going to type in the 2 million. So 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we make it green. As you can see in the preview, it's not doing anything close to what I want, right? So this requires a special kind of conditional formatting. So let's see how you do that. So I'm going to select all of the records that all the rows I want colored, right? So I select that. But I'm not going to use highlight cell rules. I'm going to have to create a rule from scratch, using a formula. So I come in here and then I start typing out my formula. So I want it to be this. I want the check to be based on what? I want the check to be based on this particular column, right? So in fact, I can pick the first record in that column. So this one, in the first record in my selection, in that column, I pick it, and then I want it to check if it's greater than 2 billion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I just need to do a little more change, edit. So what I want is this. I want it to be able to, do a reference, a relative check, check just strictly column G. So it makes sense that I've locked column G. But the rows should be relative. You should check for row 3, row 4, row 5. So it shouldn't just be tied to row 3. So I'm going to really remove the dollar before row 3. And so that way, my condition will check against each records in those rows, but only in column G. Because of that, my locking of column G. So what kind of format do I want to give it? So let's come in here and style it the way we want. I go to fill. I choose green. Yeah. This should be okay. So this should work. If I do okay, voila, it worked, right? So that you format an entire column, an entire row based on condition in just one particular column. I hope you got that. So let me check if you have any questions. So we're done for conditional formatting also. Again, it seems no question. Or maybe you guys are not able to access the chat box. At least say hi to me if you're not asking any question. Okay, so I move. So we're done with conditional formatting. Next is a new Excel. Particularly Excel 2016, we have new formulas, right? So I'm going to introduce us to those new formulas, and I have here some nice examples to show how they work. Okay, so those new formulas are concat, text join, ifs, switch. There's a spelling error here. Switch, max ifs, min ifs. And okay, so let's start with concat. A lot of us are familiar with concatenate, right? Concatenate. So the complaint has always been, concatenate if I want to join all of this together for any weird reason whatsoever. I can't select them all at once. If I try to do that, I get just the first, I didn't even get the first record. I get something, but not what I want, right? So with concatenate, the problem has been that whatever you want to join together, you have to, you know, by must go one at a time, right? And then I get that. So in 2010, no, 2016, that has been permanently fixed. I can select all of those records using concat, and I get the same output. So that is concat. Okay, so the problem is it doesn't really make sense to, just switch them, sandwich them all together without anything showing where one person ends and the next is going to start from. So how about I want to say put a comma between them? So here comes text join. So let's see how text join works. It's basically an extension of what concat does. Okay. So text join, funnily, it's going to ask me first for what do I want to separate them by? I want to separate them by maybe comma space. So I do comma space because this is a text I have to put in an inverted comma. And then do I want to ignore empty cells or include empty cells? So let's say I want to ignore empty cells. So let's pick true for that. And then I move on to the next. So now I want to join all of this together. Unlike concatenate, I can select all of them. So like I said, it's an extension of concat. So I just close the bracket and I have it. So this can be really useful, if you want to send bulk SMS to, a lot of people. I think someone has asked a question. I got a notification now. Uh, it's a false alarm. False alarm. Okay, so let's say maybe you have a set of phone numbers. So let's generate some phone numbers. I have some phone numbers, so I'm going to generate phone numbers. Let's say we want to generate MTN lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. It's that, so that should be, I need like 10. Okay, so that should be 10. So between these and 6, then I'm basically going to go backwards. 7, 6, 5, 3, 4, 2, 1. Okay, and So maybe we had plus 234. What do you think? So let's have 234. So that way it gets or let's do something nicer. Let's just join them with use the long concatenate. So I'm going to join this with that. Okay. And so let's generate some phone numbers. Unfortunately, I'm not going to sell this. So if you buy phone numbers and they say, oh, the directories of all the people in Lagos, blah, 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 25, 250,000 phone numbers for 5,000 naira. If I can tell, maybe these are how they generated the phone numbers. So, okay, so I'm going to copy paste values. Okay, so if I need to send a bulk SMS to all of these phone numbers, right? But my bulk SMS tool allows me to maybe send and do them this way, separated by a comma. Very easy with text join. Text join. And what is going to be my delimiter? It's going to be a comma. And then ignore empty cells. Right? Select all of these records. And that's all, right? See what I get. I get all the phone numbers, and I can paste these in my bulk SMS tool, and I fire them an email, hey, I'm getting married on Saturday. You guys should show up, or whatsoever you want to tell them. Okay, so that's it for text join. Next is ifs. So ifs is one problem a lot of people struggle with in Excel when you're trying to go through some complex template. You see some formulas that are like this. If it checks for something like maybe checks for this is greater than 45. Then maybe it does something. It does, I don't know, does something, and then you see another if is greater than, maybe it's greater than 50, like that. What I'm typing doesn't make sense anyway, but just bear with me. I just need to show you prove a separate point. And so you get to see this kind of nested ifs, if ifs that are meshed inside of another if and like that, several levels deep. Let's just do one more. And let's close it all off here. Then you see this and you look into the formula. Mine is even good. You see some really, really long, they are so long you have to scroll down here, or you have to come here and expand this field to see the entirety of the formula. So this is called nested if, and it's a big pain for people trying to, come to grasp with the if formula. So that is why if has come to play. If is when you have those kind of situations where you want to check for multiple things at once. If can only do a check at once. It checks for one thing and then it tells you something when it's yes, something else when it's no. But with ifs, you can check for multiple situations. So an example is this. I say maybe a lecturer in Lagos Business School, and then these are your students' score. I need to grade them, right? So so let's see how it works. So I'm going to do for all of this again. This is how ifs work. So let's check first of all, the way grades are done. Like in my university, the one I went to, if you do less than 40, you get an F. And then with ifs, right? I don't need to do another if. I just basically need to do the next condition, the next criteria, the next check, logical check. So if you're not less than 40, then I got to check you for if you're less than 45. If you're less than 45, you get E. And then I check again if you're not less than 45, then if you're less than 50, you get a D. Like that, I keep checking again. Now if you're not less than 50, then are you less than 60? If you're less than 60, you get a C. And I check once again, if you're not less than 60, are you less than 70? If you're less than 70, you get a B. And if you're not less than 70, if I was using ifs, I would basically have just said, you get an A. But in this case, we have to provide this condition. So if you're not less than 70, it means you are greater than or equal to 70, right? And then in that case, you get an A. So then I wrap it all off there. So it looks way neater. If I was to do this with ifs, right? I'm going to have one. This is one if. This is going to be nested in another if. So two, third if three, four, five, and then maybe I'll need this one because I'll just say value false. So I'm going to need that five more ifs. So I'm going to in essence, if I'm using if, I'll be nesting five ifs, right? So that's why ifs has come to our rescue to save us from those nested ifs. And that does it, right? I drag down and it's one of those set and forget formulas in Excel. Use it to create a template, maybe a grading template. You have to pay me if you're a lecturer. You should pay me for this. Next is what if I want to make a comment? Like if you got A, then we should say you're an excellent student. If you got B, so there's a really neat way to also do this, right? So it's called switch. I'm going to do that here again. So there's a formula called switch. It's also a new formula. So what expression do I want to check? So I want to check if what I have in here, if what the person has is, let's start with F. So if what the guy has is no, an expression. So whatever this has evaluated to. So what if whatever that one has come to, if the answer there is first of all, if it's F, right? Let's start with F. Then it should say the guy failed. So you failed. But if it's E, it should say that very poor. And if it's D, it should say poor. And if it's B, D, C, if it's C, it should say average students. And if it's B, it should say good. It should say you're a good student. And if it's A, it should say, yeah, it should say excellent. Excellent. And that's all. And so box basically checks, if you're this, so this is switch, right? Next is max ifs. So a lot of us are familiar with count ifs. I started again. So we're familiar with count ifs. There's also sum ifs. So now we have a max if, min ifs. Okay, so let's see how they work. So I have here is a sample. So this is a sales report for a company, right? So different sales people, the different products they sell, and then the sales figures in front. So maybe you are evaluating for a particular product type, say TV now. We want to see what was the minimum month sales, someone, all among all the sales people, what was the minimum sales figure for TV? Okay, so you use min ifs. So min ifs. So where is the range of figures? The range of figures are in here. And then where's the criteria range? The criteria range, we're interested in TV, So where all the products are. And then one particular product am I interested in? I'm interested in products that are TV, like in your case, it could be something else. You get the idea? And that's just it. So I do enter and it gets for me what's the minimum sales for TV. And if I check, so TV 160K, 350, 340, 480. Obviously, this is the minimum. So let's do the same also if you want to pull out the max. So for max, we have max ifs, right? So it's same parameter request, what we're interested in, the field of what we're interested in, and then what particular product we're interested in, right? And voila. So it gets you, what's the maximum sales for that particular product. So that is that for that. Again, depending on your business domain, for some of you it might be useful. For some of us, it might not immediately be useful now, but now you know it exists. Okay, so let's move to the last. Let me check if anyone has dropped in any question for me. Again, no question. Okay, so I'm going to move on, and then to the last. We stretched the time, but it's what it. So the last is oh, not the last, second to the last, right? So new Excel charts. So we now have some new Excel charts in Excel. Hmm, It's a, it's a repetition. New Excel charts in Excel. New Excel chart. If you're using Excel 2007, 2010, 2013, you're going to have just these Excel chart types, column, line, pie, bar, area, XY scatter, stock, surface, radar. This is where it's going to end for you. Okay, maybe combo too, but tree map, sunburst, histogram, box and whisker, waterfall, funnel, you won't have them. So they are new chart types. So let me show you what they do, right? I've done here an example of tree map. So what tree map does is it basically draws like a rectangular, instead of we know column chart, right? Column chart shows by the height of the bar, what your absolute values are. But tree map is a mix by the height and the width. It tries to come up with one big rectangle that represents the entire entity, the entire total sales in this case now. And then it shows by the size and height of each bar, what each particular category is contributing. So you can see Shegun is contributing a lot more than others. Why? It's having the same height as Fumi, but a bigger width, right? So let's just come in here and see. So bigger width, right? And then Lawal, so it does it sort of also in descending order from who is the biggest to the next to the next to the least. So that's tree map. You can start using it. So just be aware that if you insert any of these new chart types in your Excel and you send it to someone else, someone using another version of Excel, a lesser version of Excel, ah, he's not going to be able to see your charts. So let's say sunburst. Sunburst is exactly like pie chart. Let me insert it so you see how it's done. I come in here, I choose sunburst, and you see it, right? So it's exactly like pie charts, more specifically donut charts. The inside is eaten out. But the main difference is sunburst also automatically arranges your data, in descending order, clockwise direction. And so you notice Shegun has the biggest. Next is Fumi, right? But Fumi's record is number 3 here, not number 2, right? So it just, rearranges, and Shegun is number 2, not number 1. But when you do Sunburst, regardless of the arrangement of your original record, it does them sorted in descending order. So that is that. Next is histogram. So you have this, like in this case, now I have the sales record, different pizzas, the sales records, 5,000 records, the amount sold. So I need to show them in a kind of a distribution chart to show me who is performing the most, the frequency distribution, in this case now, sales distribution. So I'm seeing that hot pepperoni is, is giving me the most sales. Next is chicken suya. And then, it's showing me also by a cumulative also too, is doing like sort of like a cumulative, this is almost looking like a parabolic. I hope I got that right? Parabolic. Anyway, you get the idea. So it's giving me a curve, a cumulative curve. So this is also really straightforward. You select the records you want to do a frequency chart for. You come in here and then you go to all charts, you go to histogram, and it's done it, right? And the one I particularly use is this Pareto one. So that's the one you saw me use. So this one has a cumulative, you can see it's called adds cumulative line, and also arranges from one person contributing the largest to the smallest, like 80-20 rule. But this is the normal distribution chart, the regular histogram. So I'm not going to redo it. Now you know it's there, you know how it works. So let's move on. Next is box and whisker. If you taken some statistics courses before you understand what box and whisker means. It basically is more like a shows you, okay, it's more like a percentage chart. So it shows you minimum, it shows you what's in the 25th percentile, what's the median or 50th percentile. We call that 50th percentile. And then what's in the 75th percentile. We need some extra space. Let me drag this up. And then, no, this up. And then max. What you're seeing here is this, I don't know what to call it, the lower end of the whole, this is the box and whisker, right? So this lower end is the minimum. And then this next one here is the 25th percentile. So it's more like showing that, 25% of our population exists between here and here. The next 25% exists between here and here. The next 25% exists here and here. So we have like, this is the middle, the median. And then the next 25% exists between here and here. The next 25% exists here and here. So this looks like an evenly distributed range. But if let's take one that is not evenly distributed, let's see, something like this, where it seems you have a lot. No, not this. Let's pick. That's the problem with generating fictitious data. They look too similar because you are using a formula in Excel and pretty much everything looks too similar. Okay, but this, again, you notice like here now, I'm having a lot more of the records, almost like 50% of the range representing 25% of the record. So I'm having 25%, spread out across this large amount of range. And then I'm having in fact, I'm having up to like 50% because if you take this up to here, you have it up to, this is also the max. So for those of us who already are familiar with statistics, this will make sense. So I'm just going to show you how to do them in Excel. If you need it, you will know. So how you do this box and whisker is, again, insert, all charts, box and whisker, and this is it. It doesn't need any extra step. It just does it for you, right? And so that's how I did it. Okay, so waterfall. So these are the ones, finance people use a lot. So how do you create waterfall? Waterfall is like a kind of chart that shows you like, see cash flow. If you're a company, this is what you started the year with, and then these are the extra net cash flow you got, for the different months in the year. And then at the end of the year, this is your total, see the total, this is what you have at the end of the year, like cash balance at the end of the year. So this is something you use a waterfall to show, So let's do it from scratch anyway. I'm going to replicate it. So I select the entire data. I go to insert, and then I come in here. I choose waterfall, and then I do okay. So when I do waterfall, it's not going to need some extra tweak. It's not going to get you what you want, like out of the box. Let's remove the data label so it looks a little neat. It looks neater. So this is what I want, right? I want this to be like what we made. This was actually what we made at the start of the year. So I'm going to click on this alone. I right click and say, this is a total, what we made at the start of the year. The same thing too with year end. So I'm going to right click on it and say, okay, set as total. And that's the only edit you need to make. And here you have it. So this is your box. This is your waterfall chart. Okay, so one more chart to go, funnel chart. So if you're a salesperson and you're obsessed with conversion, so you've identified 1 million potential clients you can reach through a newspaper advert, and then the newspaper advert has a 5% conversion rate. So you get like attention of 20,000 people, and then you follow up with a phone call on all those 20,000 people. In the end, you get 4,000 people who are still interested, and then you're able to set up like a face-to-face meeting, and then when you do that, the old funnel, reduces to 1,600, and you must really be a superman or have a large team for you to do face-to-face meeting with 16 people, except maybe you spread it out across the whole year anyway. But this is a demo, and then you do a proof of concept or a live demo whatsoever that is relevant in your own business domain, and that has a higher conversion rate. People get to this stage, like 60% of them after the proof of concept, they're still interested. And then even when you go, initiate the project, you guys sign off the deal, the end only hits 80 people, 80% people, commit to the end. Like banks call it, we have bad bad loans, or what they damaged clients, or whatever you call it. So in the end, you have only 80% who come through with their promise of paying you. And so this is the whole analysis. And you want to show a chart, you want to do a presentation to management. This is how we've been doing in our marketing department. So this is a good candidate for funnel chart. So I select all of these. I come in here. You see, Excel is even recommending a funnel chart, but let's go through the whole chart. I click on funnel, and voila, it's done a demo, and here I have it. It's easy. It doesn't look too cool, but it passes the message, because this is what funnel charts are meant for. And this is a funnel chart. So now we're done with chart types. So one more thing is just, I'll be very brief about that. Let me check if you have any question. Great. No question. I have geniuses. They understand everything. Okay. And last one, infographics. Infographics is more like a hack now. If you're trying to do infographics in Excel, it's not really what Excel will do for you out of the box. So there will be some charts that will make sense for infographics, like Sunbox. We could input some of this in infographics, but you're going to need a lot more, right? So there's a tool I use. There are two ways anyway. So let me show you from easy to hard. So I use a tool called Infogram. I also use Picto charts. Picto charts. So both of them have a wide library of collections. So this is Infogram. If I log in, because of time, I can't even remember my login details. So, but okay, once I log in, I get to be able to create all those infograms, infographics you see, they are just drag and drop, put in figures, and you see all what you want. So if I'm in a rush, or, I'm not doing something too elaborate, this sometimes surfaces, it does like 50% of what I need. And I just take them out, and I use them for whatever I need them for. Also, Picto charts, right? Picto chart also, it's like Infogram. The main difference, I can't really say what the difference is, except Picto chart. I think Picto chart focuses a lot more on helping you with really more like a multi-page kind of infogram. Infograms that are like a full report, like a presentation, like a bouquet of infograms, right? So while with Infogram, I can do just one, or you have a lot more level of modularity. I might be wrong anyway, but they similar to Infogram. Okay, so which is the next? If I really want to do something big, like I'm doing for a client, I'm going to get paid for it heavily, and I need to do something looking really great. So what I did is I went to Envato Markets, Envato Studio, Graphic River, whatsoever it is. It's going to come up. Great. So I go and I buy templates. The templates are in Graphic River actually. I buy infographic templates. So I buy these vector graphics that let me show you an example. It has infographics. So I buy those icons, they are called vector graphics. So I buy them. I buy about like 5 different generic templates, and then I'm able to design my own from scratch. I can create any kind. I can create them as a Word based infographic, PowerPoint based infographic. So I get a lot more flexibility. I mix them up with Excel, mix them up with, so it's more like a mix. Sometimes I mix them up with things I do from all these other ones. So with this one, I'm going all pro. So this is maybe in another video, I might walk you through an example of doing it, for a real job, like a demo job. So for now, that is it for this. I think we've come to the end. So that is it for this webinar. If you want to engage us for anything, for training, for custom programs, you want to outsource your data analysis, you can reach us. You can reach us on any of our contacts in here, our phone number. In fact, we now have a memorable phone number, something that you can easily remember. 0700 analytics. You just dial 0700 analytics on your phone and you're reaching us live. And that is it. So thank you. I hope to see you in the next webinar, which will be next month. Also, you can share with me ideas of what you want me to focus on for the next webinar. So thank you, and I'm going to end the webinar now. Let me check if any question before I end the webinar. Any question? No question. This is a very strange one. All the other webinars I've been doing, at least I get a question till the end, but here no question. No, not a single question. Okay, so thank you for those who are able to stream with us live. I hope to. Oh, okay. I think there's a question. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Shegun Oduni, I didn't get this dynamic chart. Is it to use to predict? Oh, no, no, no. Okay. Okay, so let me answer that. So he's asking that the dynamic chart, do we use it to do prediction? No. Let me show you. Let me go back to that. Thanks for that question. So dynamic chart. Okay, so this is it. No, it's not for prediction. It's just more like if I'm creating a template. Unfortunately, I can't show you a live job. Like there's a job I did for Huawei, and it's a template. It's a dashboard. The whole thing is automated. It goes and picks their CDR records, raw data, analyzes the record, and creates all these dynamic. Creates a record like this. And so I didn't want them to manually update the chart. Maybe it's even a day-wise report. So when the day is maybe 7th of the month, the chart stop at 7th. But I want it such that my program generates, when it's another day, it generates an extra record. So the way for me to also have this chart automatically update when these records have been increased, like more additional records have been added, is by doing a dynamic chart. Another way around will have been, using a table feature. Unfortunately, I don't want to show you that one now. If I had done also a table feature, the chart based on that would be dynamic. But this is I prefer to use this because it doesn't, lock you down to some of the restrictions table does. So it's not for prediction. If you wanted to predict, right, there's a prediction tool in Excel. So let's see that. I think it's under insert. Maybe it's under data. Yeah, you see forecast, right? Maybe in another video, I'm going to show you how you use forecast. So forecast allows you to predict. Let me see if I have any data, because it works more with date-wise data. So something like this, right? I can say I want to run a prediction. I hope these are genuine months. If these were genuine months anyway, I can't remember if I put in real months there. It will work. Again, these are not genuine months, so it's not going to work. Let me show you an example. So let's say today. And then I'm going to do equals to 3 plus 1. I'm going to generate days now. I'm going to just, let's see, I'm going to copy some figures in here. I'm going to paste them, paste as values, and keep number formats. So let's do this up to here. So let's say this is date, this is revenue. maybe daily sales, and to make all these figures show. What if I want to do a prediction, right? If I want to run a prediction, this is going to mess with my prediction. So let's wipe out this last record. If I want to do a prediction, I'm going to use the forecast tool. So I come to, where did I see it? Data, forecast, and so see. So these are, I can say I want to forecast till maybe end of the month. So I want to forecast till, let's say it's till next week. And you see what it does. So this does a forecast. So this is the one you use if you want to do a forecast, right? Fortunately, what I'm doing is that dynamic chart is not a forecast one. So I hope I've answered your question. Let me see if. Okay, so I think another question. For advanced filtering, where you had time filter in 4 columns, is that truly necessary as opposed to having 2 columns with 3 rows? That's interesting. So let's check. I think it's not. I think you're right, because I've actually tried this before. So let's go run it. I still have the raw data in here. So advanced filtering. So what if I had pulled all of this in here? Oh, it's not going to work. I just remember. Okay, let's do it. But I think it won't work. So let's wipe out this so we can, have the records showing here. I'm going to clean out these entire sheets. And so let's run the advanced filtering from here. Advanced, copy to another location. I'm going to select the entire table. I'm going to, again, the criteria range. This time, we're just going to use this, right? Just like you suggested. I'm going to wipe off this and say, put the values in here. I think it worked. If that is really cool. It's even better than what I was advocating. Yeah, it worked. So thanks for that. That's a funny thing, you keep doing something one way because it works. You basically don't bother thinking about doing it another way. Yeah. So this will have only been necessary if maybe these were another entirely different column, maybe by pizza type, that is this or that. So thanks a lot, Shegun, for that. Thanks a lot. Any more questions? So we can end the webinar here, right? So it doesn't get unnecessarily too long, especially for those who will be watching the recorded video. So thanks a lot, and have a wonderful day, especially those of us in Nigeria. Have a wonderful holiday. It's going to be a long holiday, thanks to our Muslim brethren. It's a very good way for us to rest, and the whole year has been a kind of like a marathon, right? So have a wonderful week. I was about to say weekend, yeah, almost a weekend ahead, because Friday is a weekend too. So this is like a long weekend. So see you next month. Thanks. Cheers.